What's going on YouTube? This is your boy Jay back again with another Black Label Elite exclusive. Please like, subscribe, and share. And this is definitely a great video to, send your friends, send your family if you're going to go to the range for a fun day at the range. Or if you want to learn, a few more things that maybe you didn't know, right? Stick with me to the end. I think it's going to really be informative. Please leave your comments in the section below and I'll definitely reply. All right, let's get it. So a lot of people go to the gun range, like I was saying, and so the targets, of course, just generally speaking, are bigger than this. But I have this particular size target, so I can kind of hold it up and talk to you guys about it just for a second. So if you go to the gun range, right, and you're shooting, and your shots are, just kind of all over the target, right, just kind of all over the target, and you feel like you're aiming for the bullseye, but you just never hit the bullseye. There could definitely be a few reasons for that, right? So today I'll try to address, like I said, a few of those particular reasons. And when you go back to the range, I want you to come back and comment and let me know if any of the information that I provided to you helped you, all right? So let's get right into it. So one of the first things we like to do, we definitely like to safety check our firearms. So if you guys can see that, the chamber is empty. It has been checked several times. So let's just talk about the grip for just a second. So this is a Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 compact. It's pretty much the exact same size of the Glock 19, which is definitely a normal concealed carry type firearm. And also on the table I have the Micro 9 from Kimber. And also the SIG P365, which is actually in one of my concealed carry rotations, and of course my M&P 2.0. So these two are probably, I would say, my favorite firearms at the moment, other than my AR-15 type firearms. But we'll get into that later. So let me go ahead and put the magazine in here. And on the grip, right? So say I'm gonna go because I'm right-handed. So let's say you're right-handed. You want to actually put this part of your hand here. You want to put that as far up as possible, because that gives you more stability when handling the firearm, right? So we're gonna press that up there. Now I want you to notice something that a lot of people don't really think about, right? Is my thumb is all the way on the side of the firearm, right? So it's all the way on this side. So I see some people grabbing their firearm with their thumb kind of back here in the back of it. You definitely don't want to do that. So you want to get your hand lined up. You want to get your hand orientation in the right place. So you can kind of create a C with your hand and just go right over the grip like this. And I always keep this finger overextended, so I know it's not on the trigger, right? Contrary to many movies that you see when people grab guns, you actually do not pick up the firearm with your finger on the trigger. Definite no-no, all right? So anyway, now that I have one hand on the firearm, I'm going to have my thumb up. So this is going to be the thumb's forward grip. I'm going to show you guys the thumb's forward grip. This is the grip that I use all the time, and I think it provides the maximum amount of grip and repeatability, right? So anything that you do as far as firing, you want to have the same great shot every time, right? Part of that is doing things that you can easily repeat, right? Now, of course, this may not feel comfortable for you, but after you do it, several times, it'll definitely get better, all right? So what we're going to do, we're going to have this thumb up like I'm giving you the thumbs up, right? And this hand, I'm actually going to point my thumb straight out, all right? So I'm going to rotate my wrist down and point my thumb straight out. And as I'm doing that, you see this line right here where the slide actually moves back? You see that line right there? So I'm going to place my my entire hand while it's angled down right here on the side of the firearm. All right. Now at that point, I'm going to use this hand to squeeze this hand. Now you don't want to squeeze too hard with your trigger finger hand, because you're going to put you're going to make your trigger finger way too tight. All right, you're going to have a really stiff trigger finger, and that's probably going to cause you to jerk the trigger when you're pulling the trigger, which is another thing that you don't want to do. But I'll address that here in just a moment. So go ahead and place your hand over this hand and along the bottom of the slide right there. So it's just underneath the slide. Now my hands are pretty big, so it probably looks like my hands are literally consuming the entire firearm, but that's okay, right? They're in the right position. So right now I have a thumbs forward grip, right? So you see both of my thumbs are actually pointed in that particular direction, and I'll actually scroll around here to this side, and you can kind of see how I'm actually holding the firearm. Now I do lock my hands in place. I do lock my fingers in place, and I put quite a bit of pressure on it so that as I'm firing, my firearm isn't moving and I don't have to readjust my grip each time. Now, that being said, if you do, so now that you guys know the grip, right? Now that you guys know the grip and you have an understanding of why this hand is one of the most important, because it locks the firearm in place. So see, at this point, someone could even hit your hand and you would still have that firearm, and it would still be ready to go, right? So that's just a great way to hold the firearm, and that'll give you that stability, right? Now let's talk about another part of this, a part of shooting well, right? So when you're looking at your target, right? So when you're at the gun range and you're actually looking at your target, a lot of people, with their targets, they start out at 10 yards, or they'll start out at 7 yards. Well, what you want to do, you actually want to get the target as close as possible, and I would probably say a good distance is about 3 yards. And you want to practice at that point, because if you can start hitting the bullseye, right, on different targets at 3 yards, then at that point you can actually start moving the target just a little bit further back and repeat that, right? It really serves you no purpose to go to the gun range, put the target at 10 yards, and you're shooting all over the target, because you don't really have the basics and or practice yet to repeatedly hit the bullseye at that type of distance, right? So that's definitely going to take some practice. So the next part of this, the next part that I want to talk about, so we have the grip now, right? The next thing that I want to talk about is what you actually want to see while aiming the firearm, right? So while actually aiming. So the two most important pieces after the grip, right? And I'm going to say the most important piece of this is the front sight. So this is the front sight, this raised piece right here. Hopefully you guys can see it. This is the most important part. This is the part that you actually are really focused on, all right? You are looking through the notch in the rear sight to look at that front sight, and they need to be on the same level. So I'm going to explain that in this way, right? So we're all looking at this particular target right now, right? So on this particular target, you have this line going across right here, right? So when you're actually aiming your firearm at the target, you want kind of tunnel vision. So you want that line right here, right? The line that's going across. Now I drew a crooked line, but you guys know what I was trying to do, all right? So this particular line right here, you should actually only see the top of the bullseye. So while you're looking at it through your gun, or through your sights, over your sights anyway, while you're looking at it, you should only actually see the top half of that of that bullseye. All right, so you should actually only see the top half of that bullseye. Why do I say that? Why do I say you should only see the top half of the bullseye if you're wanting to hit the bullseye? Well, the bottom half is going to be covered up. The bottom half of the bullseye is going to be covered up by your sights, right? So in other words, while you're looking at the sights on the firearm, right? While you have the target lined up, once you have, and let me draw this as a matter of fact. Now, you guys are probably going to leave some comments like, "Hey man, you can't draw. Just put a picture up." But I like to actually do this. Like, this is actually what I do when I'm at the gun range and I'm talking to someone, right? So I'm going to draw it a little bit bigger than I normally draw it, but don't laugh too much. I promise if you stick with me, this will absolutely help you, irregardless of how bad my drawing is, all right? Okay, so right here, so I just drew some sights, right? So this is the rear. All right, so these are the rear sights. This is the rear sight right here, right? This is the rear sight right here, and this is the front sight, that little thin sight in the middle, and hopefully you guys can see this. So this is the middle sight, the front sight, and this is the rear sight. These are the rear sights. So you want to be looking at the front sight through the notch on the rear sight, right? Now, when I say you want both of these sights on the same line, what I mean is, I'm actually going to use something so that I can draw a straight line, okay? And I'll actually get a different color here so you guys can see it really quickly. See it better anyway. Okay. So, you want these sights on the same line. You guys see that? Alright, so you want the sights on the same line. So as long as those sights are on the same line and you have the target that you're wanting to hit, let's say that the bullseye is here, and then you have, you know, additional lines or whatever the case may be on that target. So let's say there's an X on this particular target. Well, if there's an X on this particular target in the bullseye position, you should only see the top of that X, right? So it'll kind of look like a V at that particular point. You only see the top of it because your sights will be cutting off the bottom of it. Now, once you have your sights lined up, like that, and you pull the trigger slowly, you will hit the bullseye. All right. So I'm going to say that again. All right. So once you have the sights lined up with the rear sight and the front sight on the same line, right, and you pull the trigger softly, you will hit the bullseye. All right. Now, a few things that could keep you from hitting the bullseye in that type of scenario is if you have your grip now. We've talked about the thumb forward grip, and one thing that I tell people when I'm training, if you're having a hard time remembering it, actually say it out loud, right? So actually say thumbs up, thumbs forward, right? So if you actually say thumbs up, thumbs forward, it makes it way harder for you to forget initially where where the placement, where your hand should be placed in this particular, this particular grip, right? So once you have that, and I'm going to demonstrate this. It's called anticipation, right? So if you don't know a lot about firearms, you may not know what you might not know what a wall is or what hitting the wall is. So when you pull the trigger on a firearm, right? And of course we have safety check the firearm, but once you put your finger on the trigger and you gently start pulling back, it'll actually get to a hard spot, right? So that trigger will be at a hard spot. And you'll definitely feel it. It'll stop. And once you break through that wall, you actually hear the click. That's when the gun actually fires. All right. So you knowing that allows you to know when you're going to actually fire the gun, when the gun's actually going to fire. So you don't have to anticipate, because anticipation causes flinching, right? So if you're anticipating, and you pull, did you see my hands go down like that? A lot of people do that. So if you're right-handed, you know, well, I won't even talk about the right hand and left hand as far as which way you'll pull it, but you'll see movement. If you're anticipating while you're shooting, you'll actually see movement. So you know what I mean? So you don't want to anticipate. You just kind of want to be just really calm, really as relaxed as you can be, and have your arms locked out. I didn't really talk about that particular piece of it, but that is part of the repeatability, you know, that I was talking about. So I'll see some people shooting this way, and I don't suggest this because, first of all, you're bringing the gun, you know, way closer, right? Which could cause you an issue if you bring it way too close. But at the same time, you want to be in the same position each time you shoot, right? It's all about repeatability, like I was saying. That's part of becoming really, really good and proficient with your firearm. So you want to go ahead and lock those arms out. At that point, you know that you're in the same position each time. If you know, get the correct grip on the firearm and go ahead and lock your arms out, then you have the correct grip, or your firearm is in the same position each time, right? So you don't have to worry about that at that particular point. And it's the same exact thing, and I'll go ahead and show you guys the magazine here, and also that it is empty. And this is the P365 that I was talking about. And this is actually the extended magazine, the 12-round magazine. I'm actually about to get the 13-round magazine. They just came out with a 13-round magazine a little while ago. But I'm actually going to go ahead and get the 13-round magazine. That'll be a great backup magazine for it. But great little gun. I actually have the 2nd gen version. And when I say 2nd gen version, I mean SIG initially, you know, released these. They had an issue with the striker pin in some of them, but this one has, wow, this one has well over about 2,300 rounds through it with no issues, like literally no issues. So I think it was around 1,300 rounds that I actually cleaned the gun. Didn't have any problems. Like it's been what I thought it would be, right? It's been what I thought it would be. So anyway, my hands are large, like I said, so I can actually, so like the gun literally almost fits inside of my hand, right? But the grip is the exact same, right? So I'm not holding too tight with this hand. I'm holding firm, but I'm not squeezing it, right? So I have my thumb up, so thumbs up, thumbs forward, right? Now in this scenario, you see my thumb is really close to the end of the firearm, but that's fine because my thumb is not going to go past my thumb is not going to go past the end of the firearm, right? So if your thumbs are so long that they are going past the end of the firearm, you may want to bend that, you know, tuck that thumb down once you have that grip, right? But it's the exact same grip. So from you know, from a normal concealed carry firearm to a micro carry firearm, the grip is no different. All right, so it's the same exact principle each time. Thumbs up, thumbs forward, thumbs up, thumbs forward. That's the same concept each and every single time. And now let's talk about that next thing that can kind of trip you up. Once you have your sights on the same line and you have that bullseye cut off halfway with your actual sights, right? What's the other thing that could make you miss the shot? Well, the other thing that can make you miss the shot is jerking the trigger. Did you see what I did? So I just jerked the trigger, and I just jerked it really hard, right? So this is what some people do when they're shooting. They jerk the trigger hard. What you really want to do is, first of all, you don't want to go past the first notch in your finger, right? The first notch in your trigger finger is literally the deepest your finger should go, because I've seen people like this, right? like you literally have, you know, half your finger through the trigger. That's not really what you want to do. You want to have the most controllability. You want to be able to pull the trigger with precision, and having that first part of your fingertip on the trigger really allows you that particular type of control, right? So that's really what I would suggest. I would suggest not going past that first notch on your finger. That'll give you the precision that that is needed. And also, once you start squeezing the trigger, you want to apply the same amount of pressure. You get to the wall, but you want to continue to apply that same amount of pressure, and the gun will fire, right? And you notice something when I did that. I'm going to do it again. Now watch the firearm, right? Did it move? It really didn't move, right? So at that particular point, and I'll do it this direction. So at this point, I'm aiming, right? I have my sights cutting off that that bullseye, right? So I can only see the top half of the bullseye, and I gently and consistently press on the trigger until the firearm fires. Now, when I do all of those things, I am absolutely going to hit the bullseye. All right. So you're going to put down your firearm. You're gonna look over, right? You're gonna look at the target at this point, and you're gonna say to yourself, I literally just hit the bullseye for the first time, if that's your first time, or now, hey, I can consistently hit the bullseye, right? And that's really what we want, right? We want to consistently be able to show those particular results, right? So hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. And I wanted to bring up something right here at the end. There are a few things that you can actually use. And I'll show you these. Let me see if I can. Maybe I can hold both of these in one hand. Here we go. All right, so these are practice bullets, right? These are practice bullets. They're actually lasers. They're actually when you hit it, it actually has a red laser that brightens up, that shines on whatever you would have hit, right? So you could actually do some dry fire practice if you're doing dry fire practice at home. And dry fire practice, if you don't know, is when you have an empty firearm like this, right? And of course you have triple checked that firearm, and you don't have any ammo in that room, right? In whatever room that you're practicing in, and you have a target on the wall. This is an amazing little tool that allows you to actually see what you would have hit while practicing shooting, right? So they have this particular one is in the 9mm, and they also have the other one that I was holding up is the 223-556 one, where you can practice with your this is an AR pistol, so you can definitely practice with your AR pistol, or you can practice with your AR, any of those, you know, any firearm that takes the 5.56 223 round. Now, the only thing that I will say, if you have you will need a cleaning rod or something of that sort to dislodge this from the chamber once you're done, once you're actually done using it. So just keep that in mind. This does not just fall out. They have little rubber seals on it, so it kind of sticks in place. And this is actually from G-Sight, and I am not being sponsored by them at all. It's just an amazing product, a product that I recommend to people, you know, so they can get better at home, because, you know, you may not have the time to actually do this. You know, you might not actually have the time to go to the range, you know, 2 or 3 times a week or something like that, and you still want to get some practice in. So I'll have their website link in the description or in the video here somewhere. Also, you know, please guys remember to like, subscribe, and share. I hope you guys got a lot of information out of this. And oh, one more thing. So this these shoot and see targets, I actually pick these up from Academy all the time. You may be able to get them, you know, of course, online or anything like that. But these are really, really nice. So they show you, you can see very clearly where you actually, you know, hit the target. And the ones that I really, really like are the smaller ones at this particular point. I hope that's not glaring too much, but I like the smaller ones at this point. But they also have this size, which of course is a little bit larger, and they also have a mid-range size. And like I said, I'm not a sponsor. You know, G-Site doesn't sponsor me at this point, right? I would definitely like that. But Shoot and See doesn't sponsor me either. I may have to try to work those, you know, work out some deals with that kind of stuff though. But I do have a video coming up where I am going to give away a core belt, and you guys know that core belts are you know, literally the best belt that I've ever used as far as concealed carry, and I think they'll be the best belt that you've ever used in concealed carry. And hope you guys have gotten a lot out of this video. Hopefully you guys love it. Like I said before, please like, subscribe, share, and definitely comment. See you guys soon.